So today, we're digging into a pretty popular video that makes a huge claim. It says it can teach you exactly how to spot what it calls a female narcissist in your relationships. We're going to break down precisely what this source says you should be watching out for.
Right off the bat, the source video really raises the stakes. This isn't just about avoiding a few bad dates, It's framing this whole thing as a choice that could genuinely ruin your life. That's the big problem it says it's going to help you solve.
And there it is. This is the exact quote that really drives the video's entire argument. So you can see, the source isn't just giving friendly advice, it's positioning this as a guide for, self-preservation. The idea is that spotting these signs isn't just handy, it's absolutely critical.
Okay, so the first big question is, what are we even looking for here? The source kicks things off by diving into what it considers the #1 red flag in a relationship. The word that the source uses over and over for this whole set of behaviors is narcissistic. Now, it's really important to remember, this is the video's own term, kind of like a pop psychology label. So with that in mind, let's see what they actually mean by it.
All right, let's get right into the heart of it. According to the source, all of these red flag behaviors, they all supposedly spring from 3 main character traits.
First on the list is what the source calls an intense, almost all-consuming obsession with appearance. And it's very careful to draw a line here. This isn't just about wanting to look nice or presentable. It's described as an obsessive need to be seen as the best-looking person in any room.
Okay, now this next one is fascinating. The second trait is all about a single 2-letter word, no. The source claims that for someone with these traits, being told no about anything, big or small, isn't just a letdown. Nope, it's a trigger for a massive, intensely negative reaction.
And to really paint a picture of this, the source uses some incredibly vivid language. It uses a Hindi phrase, apna kali roop dharan kar lete hain, which basically translates to they take on their furious form, referencing the Hindu goddess Kali. So the point isn't just that they get mad, it's about a complete and terrifying transformation that feels totally out of proportion to just being told no.
And this third trait is what supposedly ties it all together, a deep inability to value anyone or anything more than themselves. The source says this is basically the engine that powers all the other behaviors. Because if your own value is the only thing that matters, well then loyalty and respect for your partner's feelings just kind of takes a back seat.
Okay, so we've got the internal traits down, but how does this stuff actually look in the real world, day to day? This next part is all about connecting that inner psychology to actual observable actions.
So the source points to a few key patterns. First, it claims they're quick to flirt with other people, which shows a lack of respect for the relationship. They also tend to dodge responsibility for anything and will manipulate situations instead of just being direct. And finally, the source highlights a real lack of empathy and this constant competitive need to be the center of attention. Then, to make its point clear, the source draws this really interesting comparison. Think of a shy person in a crowd. They might be quiet in a corner to avoid people. The source says the person it's describing might also be quiet, but for a totally different reason. They're supposedly scanning the room on the hunt for what the video literally calls a target to trap in their web. And that really brings us to the key takeaway the source wants you to remember. It says their main way of interacting isn't honest communication, it's manipulation. It's about getting what they want through these indirect, clever means instead of just asking. So you see all these traits and behaviors, and where does it all go? Well, the final part of the video is all about the end game. After laying all this out, it makes some pretty confident predictions about where a relationship like this is headed. So after everything we've just gone over, what does the source say the future actually holds for this kind of relationship? Let's just say it doesn't really leave much to the imagination. This chart here really sums up the source's prediction. It claims you can expect pretty much zero loyalty. The chances for actual happiness are described as incredibly low, and the probability of it all ending in a breakup or divorce, through the roof. It's a really bleak forecast. And the reason for this grim outlook, according to the video, is that real happiness is basically impossible. The argument is that since this person is supposedly unable to think beyond themselves, a true equal partnership can never really happen. And so, the source leaves viewers with this direct 3-step call to action. First, it says you need to observe these signs as early as you can. Second, understand what the consequences could be down the line. And finally, decide what you're going to do about it before you're in too deep. And that's our look at the source material. It kind of leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, right? In our own lives, how do we tell the difference between healthy self-love and confidence and the kind of extreme problematic traits this video is talking about? It's a tricky line and definitely something worth considering.